Welcome to the Berman Golf Podcast, where we're helping golfers over the age of 60 increase distance off the tee so that they can hit shorter irons into the green. Yeah, baby. You can visit us at bermangolf.com for more information and get ready. This is going to be a fun one.
All Berman has to do is invite Ud to his house and he learns something.
I just learned something.
And likewise, it goes
That's
the other way.
crazy.
It's called an SD lock.
The SD lock. And we're back, baby. The Long Balls Golf Podcast. Dr. Jake Berman here. I got a very special co-host guest joining me today, Mr. Daniel Udd.
What's up, long ball crowd?
So Daniel just educated me here. That's what we were rambling about before my intro there. I didn't know SD cards have locks on them. I'm like, why won't this thing press go?
You got to protect those podcasts. They're precious. Lock them.
So great. Daniel is here. Daniel is one of my best good friends. We met back in 2015.
15, yep.
Yep, 2015 in Naples. And Daniel is a ping rep. He's the ping rep out in Arizona right now. What's your area?
Northern Arizona, ping representative, and used to cover Naples for about a 3-year period.
Yeah, so that's when we first met. He was the Naples rep. So Southwest Florida, Naples, Bonita, Estero, Fort Myers.
Bradenton, yeah, Sarasota, all the way up to the Tampa border. Yep.
All the way up to the Tampa border. And that's when we first met. And Daniel is the reason why I started getting serious about golf. It's crazy, but you were the catalyst, because prior to you, I could grab a golf club and go whack things around and didn't really enjoy it, was not good at it, couldn't break 100.
He hits it he does hit it a long way and used to back then still, but I remember a lot of swamp days. Swamp camp days.
Yeah, we would take a trash bag full of old golf balls that we'd find in the water, and we'd go out to my property out in the woods and just whale golf balls out into the woods. Those were some good times.
A lot of good memories.
But anyways, Daniel is the one that got me into actually trying to be good at golf. And I was like, I had never been fitted before, always had hand-me-down golf clubs. And he goes, we've got to fit you, but I can't fit you until you start doing the same thing over and over again.
Repetition is very important, but we got you dialed in with that one set of clubs, and you still play them today, and it definitely helps to get fitted. They're very important to not only get your body right, but get your equipment right. So.
Yes, I had no idea. I'm like, how important are clubs? This is back in 2015. I didn't know much about nothing as far as the importance of all these things. I'm like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
One set of clubs is just as good as another set of clubs.
Wrong.
Not even close. And no joke, once Daniel would work on me on my swing technique on these golf days, or the days we're hitting golf balls out in the woods.
Yep.
And eventually I was able to get a repetitive, crappy swing.
We're still working on it.
It was all arms, no lower body was working at all, but it was reproducible.
Yep.
And once I was able to do the same swing over and over again, Daniel said, okay, now you are worth my time. Let me get my equipment out. We went to the range and we went through the fitting process, and he got me dialed in. He says, this is what you should get.
Yep.
And luckily enough, there was an old set from one of the clubs, one of the demo sets that you dropped off at one of the clubs. It was old. Sets, yeah. I say old. It was a year and a half old.
Yep.
And that was my first set of officially fitted clubs.
Was that down at Coral Isle?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went down to Coral Isle driving range.
Yep, the driving range down there.
Yep.
And I'm still playing those same irons today.
Yeah. We need to upgrade you.
Yes.
We need to upgrade you.
Yes, let's update them. So Daniel is the reason why I started taking this thing seriously. So really, if it wasn't for Daniel, I don't know that the Berman method of golf performance would exist, or at least it wouldn't be where it is today. I mean, we might be in the infancy stages now, but right now we're rocking and rolling. And it's mainly because you got me started back in 2015. Here we are 7 years later.
Yep, and shout out to your boy Clayton too, helping you with a little bit of your swing as well. And Dan Beveridge helped you back in the day. So
Yep. Clayton Rogers, our director of instruction, the Berman Methods director of instruction, and Dan Beveridge. Yeah, he gave me a lot of lessons back in the day. Great guys.
yep.
Cool. So I wanted to have Daniel on the podcast today because Daniel has some really great stories about his days driving the ping van around on the tour.
Oh yeah, 6 years. Basically driving the tour trailer around, catering to upwards of 30 plus staff players. And just like going to a physical therapist or going to see your swing coach or getting your long ball dialed in by Dr. Berman, you got to get your equipment dialed in. So these guys would come in every week, and basically I was the NASCAR driver where I would be the pit crew. So you get there on a Sunday, you set up for the event, you work Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then you pack up on Wednesday afternoon and head to the next event. So very busy lifestyle, lots of travel, lots of driving of a big semi-rig. The main thing is just getting to interact with the players, getting to interact with coaches, physical therapists, caddies, et cetera, on a daily and weekly basis. But, getting to know the guys on a one-to-one basis is kind of fun.
I can't even imagine. I mean, there's just that's almost like a roadie on tour for a concert or something where you're just constantly going from show to show, tear down, set up, do it all over again.
Yep. I mean, I guess the weekly routine that was the most interesting part is dialing in people's diets and snacks, because in the trailer that's their getaway from like the hustle and bustle of the media and just taking a step back from practicing every single day, getting ready for the event. They'd come in and, Daniel Chopra, for instance, lives in Orlando, and his thing is he doesn't drink anything but Diet Coke that's made with Splenda. Alex Prue likes his Twizzlers, not his Red Vines. Just fun things like that, getting to get to know the guys and make sure they're comfortable while I'm working on their equipment and building it from scratch. And maybe the week before they had issues with their wedges, so we build them some new wedges, do some grinds on them to help them with the new turf, because week to week the turf conditions change. So they might play more bounce in Florida, and then in Arizona they might play a low bounce wedge. So the Bermuda grass versus the bent grass, they need a heavier putter for Bermuda and a lighter putter for bent because the greens are faster versus more grainy. So pretty cool to see and get to understand the differences in the country and the player and their needs on a daily basis.
So there's more to this thing of golf than just going into the PGA Superstore, buying a set of clubs off of the shelf and going out and trying to be a scratch golfer. There's more to it.
100%. And that's, Superstore fits people for golf clubs. They do a great job. Golf Galaxy and other companies do a great job of fitting as well. But to walk into a store and just buy equipment off the rack is a pretty big mistake in most cases. At least, making sure the most important thing is lie angle is one thing for direction, but getting the right shaft. A lot of people misunderstand. They just don't get it dialed in on the length and the right shaft flex. I mean, you're working against yourself in that position. So
that's one of the first things that I noticed when you fit me was I was playing
noodles.
What's that?
You're playing noodle shafts. It's very soft. You needed stiffer shafts.
I thought they were Titleist heads, though, weren't they?
Yeah. They were a different brand, but the shaft was way too soft for your speed. You needed stiffer shafts.
Oh, now I understand.
Because your dispersion was kicking in because you're swinging a shaft that's too light and too soft. So once we got you dialed in with a heavier, stiffer shaft, you were much more consistent.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm. And it felt easier.
Oh, 100%. You're not working against your own body. Like you said, building in the physical to the right equipment is key.
Yeah. So that's great. Yep. So tell us some more stories. You got to have some good stories about these people that we see on TV, and all we get to do is we see them on Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes Thursday and Friday, and then Saturdays and Sundays, and we're like, man, these guys are like gods.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't even...
Well, tell us the things that you're allowed to tell us.
Well, kind of a funny story is when I was down at Doral, Miguel Jimenez is one of my favorite players. I've got a lot of favorites, obviously, on the ping team, but he's one of the most unique guys, funniest guys. And The Fujikara rep was on the range down at Doral testing some equipment, testing some shafts with some players, and Miguel's always played Fuji. And he walked up to him and said, "Hey, would you mind testing these shafts out for me?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." He hit some shots, and he's like, "What do you think?" He goes, "Well," Miguel in his accent, he goes, "Well, it's let me think about it. It's a soft." And the rep goes, "Really? Soft?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, how do you say in America? It's a gay." So, politically correct or not, it was funny. And everyone on the range just lost their shit, excuse me. And we had a good time laughing about it. But anyway, long story short, we dialed him in. He did not switch shafts that week. And he's actually my biggest regret. 3 years later on the PGA Tour, I was working in the trailer late Sunday afternoon. They were pretty strict about setting up late Sunday, which isn't great for drivers, so we can go and relax. But this particular day, the pro at the golf course, Corey, had offered us to go play golf. So the other truck drivers set up a tee time, 1:30 on the white course. We're ready to go, and all of a sudden, I'm rushing to the tee, and Miguel comes up to the trailer. He wanted something from the trailer last minute. I'm like, oh, great. So long story short, we get it done. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" He goes, "You want to go play?" And I said, "Well, I appreciate it. I've already told the other drivers I'm going to go play with them. I really appreciate the offer." And I was just following through on my commitment. And we get to the tee box, and I run up, and the guys are like, "What are you doing? Why are you so late?" And I said, "Well, Miguel came to the trailer. I had to, take care of something. He offered me to go play, but I told him that I'm playing with you guys." And they were like, "You're an idiot. Like, why would you ever come play? We would have left you behind. You turned down playing with Miguel? Come on." So long story short, the rest of my day was not as fun as it could have been, because I would have loved to have gotten to know Miguel personally and play golf with him. So, some other fun things, Bubba Watson, great guy. Worked with him for, like I said, 6 years. Unique thing about him is the size of his grip on his clubs. A lot of people don't know it's a gold mid-size 703 rubber grip from Ping. But he uses a plus 11 and plus 13 wraps of tape underneath the grip. 13 on the lower hand, 11 on the upper. It used to be 12 and 10. Over time, he's expanded it to one more wrap of tape. So, you'd be like, well, that's kind of big. Well, yeah, it is. It's
like a baseball grip.
Almost.
Or
it's
a baseball
bat handle, yeah. And it's a ribbed grip, too. So, some people are like, well, did you ever try an oversized grip with less tape? Well, yeah, but the problem is more rubber. So with the gold mid-size grip, with the 11 and 13 wraps, it makes the grip firmer because it stretches the rubber. So, and it's set 10 to 14 degrees open depending on the club. So it's pretty intense.
So he's looking at his lob wedge, and it's flat on the ground.
Flat on the ground, and he's gripping it square. Yep, it's pretty intense. Yeah, just watching these guys. Obviously they're very focused. They're professional athletes. They're working on their games every day. They're tweaking their equipment, and they're getting dialed in every single week by their trainers, and just watching their intensity to get better. For instance, Bubba's very specific about his grip. So, if it's on just slightly off, he'll grip it in midair and then put the club down and look at it. And he's like, "Nope, let's redo it." And he'll cut the grip off, redo another one. So it's pretty nice. It's a nice thing to know that you're a part of dialing them in every week. So
that's cool. You mentioned something there that is striking a massive nerve with me, where you get to see the behind the scene things with these professional athletes. And this is something that drives me absolutely nuts, at least on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, where I'll have one of my clients come in and say something like, "Yeah, well, Justin Thomas does this, or Phil does it this way, or Tiger did it this way," insinuating that they're trying to reproduce a certain thing. And I'm going, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what these guys do on a daily basis so that they can do what they do out there?
Yep.
Let's talk more about that. Let's focus on the physical aspect of it. And we should get into the dietary aspect of it too, because it's so under-noted or underrated, whatever you want to say. Let's start on the physical component. How do these guys do this day in, day out? They've got to have a whole team.
Yeah. There's a certain player by the name of Patrick Harrington. When I showed up to TPC one year, TPC Sawgrass for the players, I went down to the gym early morning. That's when I actually worked out. And I was in there at 5 a.m. and he had been in there for 45 minutes already. I mean, these guys are focused. They're, like you said, they're taking care of their bodies. They have to. Without the physical aspect, without the right diet, their bodies would break down. They wouldn't have the energy. The biggest thing people don't understand, like you said, is there's a lot behind the scenes. But the biggest thing is they're practicing. Most players are practicing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then they're walking 18 holes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, mentally draining, physically draining. They have to keep up their physical and their mental aspects of the game. So you got to, change the oil. You got to grease the machine, and you got to take care of every aspect of your body and your life to be at your best.
So this is an extreme, right? We're talking about people on the pro. These are guys on the pros. And the analogy that I use every single time somebody brings this up to me, I say, they are not human. We are mere mortals. They are gods. We are mortals. We cannot compare ourselves to them. But what could we do? What should we do? Just to put things into perspective, let me just tell you a little bit about what I deal with on the daily basis is I'll get a 70, 75-year-old guy that comes in and says he wants to hit the ball farther. And I'll say, okay, great. And we'll go through our physical component on the first session. I'll do my test and I'll say, yes, there is a ton of potential here. And it's highly likely that I can help you hit the ball farther. However, we are not going to move forward at all unless you can get this through your head that this is not going to be easy.
Yep.
This is going to require work and effort. This is not an easy button. This is not a golf lesson. I'm not going to teach you a technique and then you go do it.
Yep.
This is actual work where we're going to be building, we're going to be recruiting muscles, then building muscles. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be easy. And so many people don't understand the work that you need to put into it if you want to get.
Yeah, it takes time. Yeah.
Not just time on the range, though.
Dedication to all aspects of it. I mean, you just did your test with me a few minutes ago, the Berman method. And you showed me in two simple, there's obviously a lot more to it, but you showed me in two simple positions how off my physique is. But you opened my eyes immediately because my rotation, body, my stability, my core, it was just mind-blowing seeing the position that I could get into, and I don't think I felt that in over a decade.
So let me give you guys a little backstory on this. So when we first started hanging out together and becoming friends, and Daniel was getting me more and more interested into golf, the thing that really changed everything for me, where I essentially said, F it, that's it. I'm done with being this half-ass, I'm not really committed to this thing, to, okay, I'm committed. I'm going to figure this thing out because I'm pissed off. And we're out there on the driving range. This is before the fitting process. You took me to the driving range a few times, and, I'm spraying the ball everywhere. And then of course, all I want to do is get the big stick out and see how far I can crank it and try not to slice it out into traffic. So you just say out of nowhere, you're like, give me that. I'm like, it must be this driver. This is the problem. It's the driver's fault. And it was some cheap driver that I had. I forget what it was, but it was some cheap driver that I don't even know how I got it. Maybe off of Craigslist or something.
It had to have been a thrift store.
You grabbed my driver. I'm a right-handed golfer. You're a right-handed golfer. You grabbed my driver from the Craigslist special and you flipped it over upside down. And swung it lefty.
Yep.
And hit a ball way farther and way straighter than I could with that driver righty.
It was just a little past you, not much.
So think about that. So you set the club up. I got to make sure
turn it on its toe.
Turn it on its toe.
You flip a righty over on its toe, tee it up, and just swing lefty. And yeah.
The moment that I saw that, my jaw literally hit the ground. And I was like, you've got to be effing kidding me. There's no way that this game is that hard that you could do that and I couldn't even do it the right way.
Yep.
I was like, okay, I am working way harder and not smarter. Let's figure this thing out.
I think another day that the realization hit you, I think we played Royal Palm one day. You just looked at me and you're like, we gotta get this better. We gotta get this better. So
yeah, Yeah, because it's so much fun playing with you. I wish we got to do it more often. I wish you weren't in Arizona and I was in Naples.
A little too far away.
And we could do it more often because this guy, I wish you could see him. Daniel's huge. He's from Africa. He's got African genes. He's a white African, just absolute giant, strong as an ox. But I say all that just to give you a visual because this guy is just straight up athletic, meaning that he'll call out these shots when we're out on the course. He says, this is what I'm going to do with this shot. I'm going to do a low stinger with a slight draw right at the end. And sure enough, he pulls it off. And it's...
Driver off the deck is my favorite.
That's what I was going to say next. So we're on a par 5, and he's like, screw it. I'm going for it. Driver off the deck. So second shot, we're in the fairway. Driver off the deck, and Alcatraz, or eagle opportunity, right?
Yep.
Eagle.
I was on the collar, putting up on the green.
Yep. Almost an Alcatraz. I'm like, what the freaking, are you kidding me? You can do all this and I can't even hit a 7-iron 135 yards.
Yep.
In all fairness, you grew up golfing. You played a lot of golf, right?
I started, my dad cut down some clubs for me back in Africa when I was 2, and I would hit wiffle balls around the yard. The yard was divided by a fence, and so when I started hitting it over the hedge, he turned me lengthways, and I had to hit it full length of the yard. And then as soon as I could hit it out of the whole yard, he took me to the golf course when I was 4 years old. So played my first 9 holes when I was 4. Yeah. So I learned how to hit shots. And then, the biggest thing is you have to, even if you can't dedicate a ton of time to it, you got to dedicate the right time to it. So it's one thing to go to the range and hit balls, like you said. It's not about hitting balls. It's about doing the right things. So learning the right physical, learning the right diet, dedicating yourself to the right method is how you get better. It doesn't take a ton of time, but it's doing the right things that helps. So
being really effective with your time.
Correct. Yeah. So people might say, well, I don't have time to be, you just read an article by Justin Thomas. I'm going to go duplicate that on the range. Well, good luck. You need to do work prior to that to get into that position. So
right. I'm so happy you're saying that because I haven't told you what I tell my people their homework is, but what I tell my clients, what their homework prescription is I want you to do this one thing, 2 minutes on the hour, every single hour until I see you again. I don't want you to go and spend 20, 30, 45, or 60 minutes doing this one thing. I want you to do it 2 minutes on the hour, every single hour, 100% perfectly, 100% focused until I see you again. And that's where we start. And then it eventually evolves into, okay, now I want you to give me 5 minutes on the hour, every single hour until I see you again. And the amount of progression that my clients get when they come back that next
muscle
session,
memory,
over and over
confidence.
Again, focusing on the right thing though. Yep. It's just one thing.
Yep.
Focus on this one thing and do it 100% perfectly.
Yep.
And then when you come back, we're going to focus on the next one thing.
Yep.
And I honestly think that has been the reason why we have a 100% success rate with all of our one-on-one golfers, is because that's how we do it, versus this is not a jab at golf professionals or golf lessons. It's just a lot.
Mm-hmm. You get overwhelmed and you forget, and you come up with, that's my interpretation of what he told me to do. Some of the best coaches I know do exactly what you're saying. They give you one thing to work on. And it does somebody a disservice to do too many things at once. So like you said, small amount of time, 1 minute, 2 minutes, up to 5 minutes, it builds like you said, builds repetition, confidence, etc. So,
and it has to be perfect.
Yep.
Do this one thing 100% perfectly for 120 seconds, every single hour, and you're going to see a result.
Not a lot to ask.
It's simple, not easy. It is simple though.
Yep.
So I did that little segue about Daniel's athleticism a couple of minutes ago, because to this day, he can go out there and do whatever he wants with the golf ball and just get away with it because he's just a big, strong, athletic dude. And he's been doing it forever and he can just do it. And he is not yet experienced the Berman method technique. So before we recorded this podcast, he's here visiting, right?
Yeah,
So just so
hanging
everybody
out.
knows.
We're playing golf Sunday.
We're playing golf Sunday.
We're excited to play golf together again.
He came here to visit. He brought his whole family, his wife and his 2 beautiful daughters, and he's hanging out with us for the next few days. And this is great. We don't get to see each other a lot, and this has been great. So Daniel has not yet experienced what the method is all about. I've told him about it, but it's one of those things where it's hard to explain it over the phone.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Just the realization when you put me in those positions a few minutes ago was just mind-blowing.
Yep. So to put things into perspective, Daniel can go out and shoot scratch on Sunday when we play. He probably will. He might be 1 or 2 over.
Yep.
Might be 1 or 2 over. So I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. So this is prelude into the podcast. So I was like, go ahead and get into the position. I gave him a 7-iron because he's a tall guy. So I started out with giving him a wedge, and you look like you're hunched over. So I'm like, okay, treat this 4-iron like it's your
6-iron.
Like it's your 6-iron, and get into position. And I did my test. I was like, don't let me move you.
Yep.
Pushed you right over.
Yep.
No muscles activated at all. So then we go through and I fix it, got muscles firing. Then I say, okay, now go into the top of your backswing.
Yep.
Same exact test is coming your way. Don't let me move you. Pushed you right over again.
Well, what's crazy, you showed me immediately with the first position, but what you said is, so you're not engaged. You notice how I can push you. I said, yeah. And you said, well, guess what? If you're not engaged now, you're not going to engage at impact. So there's going to be other aspects of this that I'll show you. And you went into that second position at 3/4 swing, and same thing happened. So.
Yep. So the next thing I did was I said, go to the top of your backswing and hold. And I stepped.
And he started laughing hysterically is what happened.
I was laughing so hard because all BS set aside, the vision that I saw, the position that you were in looked so much like my 75-year-old golfers.
Like everyone else you helped.
that are arm swinging. Your hips did not move at all.
Nope.
Your left elbow was bent. The club was almost wrapping around your neck.
No extension, yeah.
And again, we have not played golf since I've really developed this Berman method thing. So when I saw that, I just started laughing hysterically because I'm like, and this mother effer is going to go out and shoot 1 or 2 over on Sunday.
He couldn't wait to run and grab his phone. And then when he came back, he goes, nope, you didn't stay in the position. And immediately took 2 photos, and the contrast is so stark.
So I took a picture of his normal, natural position at the top of the backswing, and then I put him in to the top of his efficient, effective, biomechanically correct top of the backswing. And we did side by side. We should do that and put it in the show notes.
Definitely. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll do it and put it side by side pictures. You guys go check out the show notes and look at the difference.
Yep.
It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's sad because back in the day, back in college when I played college golf, I would think one thing we haven't mentioned is I have a back injury that started after college. And so I said to Jake, I don't remember ever feeling that feeling. Like maybe I did get to those positions just through athleticism back before college, but I can't remember the time where I felt that extension throughout my whole body. So it's refreshing to see it, but I realize there's going to be some work to do.
Some work to do.
Some.
So the reality is, I've said this 15 times. I'm going to say it 16 times. Daniel can go out and shoot scratch. He can shoot 1 or 2 over, and he's probably going to do it this Sunday, and he's going to kick my butt all over the course. Even though I am the best crap talker on this planet, I will not be able to get into his head unless I challenge him to do something, and he just screws up somehow. I'm going to say, okay, driver off the deck, upside down on the toe, lefty. But my point is, he can do that today. How old are you right now?
40.
You're 40 years old right now. Mm-hmm. There is 0% chance that you'll be able to do it at 55.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen it so many times, the way that you're using your body, you're just sheerly muscling it with your muscles and athleticism. You will not be doing this at 55. You'll probably be 6 or 7 or 8 over at best.
Yep.
And then at 60,
Yeah, game over.
game over. At 65, you're probably just going to quit because you're going to be like, what's the point? If I have to shoot 10 over, what's the point? Where there's a lot of us listening going, man, I'd love to shoot an 82. But you're like, man, it's not even worth it for me anymore.
Yeah, when I shoot more than 5 over, I'm already wanting to give up. So
I remember one day when we played 5, 6, 7 years ago, you shot 4 over, and it was like the world ended. And I'm going, are you effing kidding me? You just shot a 76 and the world is over?
Expectations. But I want to keep that going, so I got to get it right.
Yes. So take-home messages.
Yep.
What do you think are some good take-home messages from this? We talked about a lot. Got a good intro in here. We talked about some of the behind-the-scenes things on the tour, how important it is to take into consideration the physical and nutritional aspect of it.
Yep.
Focusing on the right one thing versus the kind of right 10 things.
Yep.
That's probably the biggest one.
I'd say the biggest takeaway is definitely just doing the right things, because you can go hit balls all day long. All day long. Nobody's watching you. You're working on your own. You hit one bad shot, and guess what you try and do? You try and change to hit it differently. You focus on the one thing and get it right. Focus on it and get it perfect. You can always advance to the next, once you get the next lesson or the next cue from Berman method, but you've got to work on it and you do it perfectly.
Man, I thought we were about to wrap this thing up, but you just said something that's really important. And I think it's important, and I don't want to wrap it up because I'm going to say it because it is important. When we're out there on the range and we're hitting some good shots and then we hit a bad shot, don't change anything.
Don't change a thing. Just keep on doing the same routine. Yeah, you know, the biggest mistake you see amateurs do is they get up there, they hit some balls, they hit some good ones, and they hit some bad ones, and all of a sudden you see them shifting. They change their position, they change their grip. That's the nemesis to golf. Focus on the right thing and keep working on that same thing. If somebody gives you a lesson, somebody gives you a pointer, Jake gives you a position to get into, work on that position, and it'll groove itself into being.
It's crazy that you're saying this because Dan Beveridge actually was my first experience with this. When he was taking me out to the driving range and trying to work with me, he would make an adjustment, and the result that I was seeing was worse.
Yeah.
And he's going, oh, that's better. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. And that was
getting into the right positions.
That was my first mental block. I'm going, why is he telling me it's better when the result is worse? The important thing to take away from this is it's a process.
Yep.
You've got to get the process in the right order, and then the result will get better. It doesn't do it in the opposite direction. You can't just get the result better, then get the process.
Correct.
And that's one thing that I've seen regularly in my office when we're on the simulator. I put people in the same position I just put you in.
Yeah.
And they start chunking it, or they start thinning it, or they shank it and put a hole in my drywall. And I'm like, that was better. And they're like, but I just put a hole in the drywall. And I said, I don't care about the effing drywall.
Yep.
That was the best backswing I've ever seen you do ever.
Yep.
Do it again.
Yeah, I mean, simple things like I can't tell you how many times you see people on the driving range and they're set up to the driver. They got their hands in front of the ball. They got the club face shut. And they've grooved themselves into that thinking, right? They shank or cut or slice the driver, and then they keep closing the driver more and more. What they don't realize is they've just manipulated themselves into creating the cut, because the more you shut down the driver, the more you put side spin on the ball. So again, that person needs to be recentered back to normal setup. They need to put that face square, and then they need to work on that one thing. And it'll eventually come around. But they've got to get back to basics, and they've got to get the right method going.
It's so crazy you say that because...
You used to do that.
Yes, I used to do that where I'm going, okay, I'm slicing the ball. I understand the physics of ping pong.
Yeah.
Golf and ping pong are essentially the same exact thing.
Pretty similar
Golf,
with side spin and everything.
Ping pong, tennis, it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
That's how I understood why a ball slices versus draws or hooks or whatever it is.
You're pretty good at tennis too.
Yeah. So I'm going, okay, I keep slicing this ball. That must mean that my club face is open. So what am I going to do? I'm going to close this thing down.
Shut that puppy down.
Oh my gosh. Talk about making a worse slice because it wasn't the club face's fault.
Do you remember your first draw back in the woods when I finally set that face open and I said, release it. And you trusted it. The face was square and man, you crushed it.
I do remember that. It's like, I'm like, there's no way.
How does that happen?
I was like, there's no way this ball is going to do what you're saying it's going to do. And he goes, just do it and trust it.
Yep.
And I did. I was like, screw it. It's not like we're looking for these balls anyways. And I did it and it drew. I was like, oh my gosh.
And it was ripped.
I was like, okay, now you really got my attention.
Yeah, no, it was good. And one thing at a time. That's the key. Just one thing, perfect, get it right, ingrain it, move on to the next thing.
Yes, one thing at a time. Do it 100% perfectly, not a few things at a time done kind of okay.
Yep.
Good. I think that's a good thing to end with.
Yep.
That was fun, Daniel.
Florida memories. I love it. Thanks for having me on the Berman Method.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. You came here on vacation. I said, yeah, I'm going to put you to work for about 35 minutes.
Well, it's okay. I'm earning my boat ride this afternoon, so.
Yeah, should be nice. Cool. A lot of fun. Make sure you guys check the show notes because I'm going to put that picture and I'm going to do a side by side. And I'm telling you, it is just crazy what this guy can do out of sheer athleticism, but it is not sustainable. So check out the difference. Share this podcast with somebody else. This is going to be a fun one. I'm sure this is going to be the most shared podcast we've had up to this date. And this was great. Thank you so much.
No worries, dude.
Thank you very much for tuning in this week. For more information, please go to bermangolf.com. That's B as in boy, ERMAN, bermangolf.com, and check out a ton of stuff that we have there. Or even better, go to our socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We're even on TikTok. Check us out everywhere. We've got tons of content going out every week. And please give us a thumbs up. Comment on the videos. Let me know what your questions are. Try to shoot holes in this. I'll do whatever I can to help you out the best that I can. Thank you, guys.